So how do we define some of these terms? And I think there's some techniques that we can use in class. A demonstration I enjoy personally is what I call the banana peel exercise, and it's a way of helping students to develop the concept of what is a hazard, what is an incident, and what is an accident. And a banana peel is always a very slippery thing, and I simply place the banana peel on the floor, and being the kind of person I am, I have to stay away from that because I'll be the first to slip on it. But that's my point. It's a hazard at this point. Nothing has happened, but if I don't pick up that banana peel, if a student doesn't pick up that banana peel, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to come along, and they're going to slip. So we have a hazard. There's the potential for disaster. And sometimes it could be pretty serious. Now, if somebody does come along, it's probably going to be me, and if I don't notice that banana peel, I'll slip on it. All right, let's say the floor is well carpeted, and I have a soft landing, and I get up, laugh it off, and walk away. Of course, I'm going to pick up the banana peel at that point and put it in the wastebasket. That's an incident. Something has happened, but nobody got hurt, and there was no real damage, just to my ego. That's it. Okay? So, this time, and this is something you don't want to demonstrate, but if you did slip and fall, and you did hurt yourself, or on the way down, you reached out and grabbed a multimedia projector or something and took it with you on the way down, and it smashed into 1,000 pieces. Now we have physical injury and loss of property, and that's what an accident is. One of those. Either somebody gets hurt or there's a loss of value to property. And so those are our definitions. And it's just a way of helping people to identify the difference one to another. It's just a simple demonstration. Just have to remember to bring a banana peel. Once you've developed the basic concept, the basic definition, now, trainers, why don't you say to your class, look around you. Get up, walk around. Here's a reporting form. See if you can find a hazard. I'd be very surprised if within a very short time a number of people will come back to you and show you some hazards. So now we've developed a definition of what a hazard is, what an incident is, and what an accident is. And that takes us to the next step. How do we actually report these things? And what do we say? An idea might be to ask your students to go online, to select a number of reporting forms that are associated with large and small companies, and maybe to make some comparisons. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Which ones do they see are most appropriate for the environment that they're going to be going into? And at that moment you're off to a great start. So there's two kinds of reporting. There's the proactive and the reactive. And which one, the question for your students, which one comes first? It's a new term. And what kind of situations are more likely to be proactive? And of course we're dealing with hazards at that point. So here's the situation for your students to consider, and it's fairly realistic. You go into a room and the fluorescent lights are on and there's a couple of wires hanging down. The question for your students, what would you do? Would you ignore it? Would you report it? And the answer, probably you'd report it. But even then, to mitigate the risk, ask them what would be a commonsensical step to take. And I think the answer is pretty obvious. Turn off the lights, throw the breaker, fill out a report, talk to somebody right away so they don't turn the lights back on. And that is being proactive. Here's one that you might try with your students, an activity in which you actually get them up out of their desks, out of their seats, and say, let's go on a tour around this building and bring along some paper and take note of a number of situations that you see that might be hazardous. It's a step towards developing that reporting culture to make us aware of situations over which we've become complacent because they've always been there. And if you become more active in looking for trouble, then our chances of finding potential trouble and doing something about it, being proactive, are a lot better. We can take some active steps in this exercise to help our students to be more proactive, to be more observant, and to identify some real hazards that have probably been around for a long time. I think it'll cause quite a buzz amongst them. Why not generate a list of questions with your students before you go on that stroll and see if you can find some of those things. I'll bet you can, and that they may come up with some observations over which they would like to be proactive in a real hurry. Here's a thought. Why don't you get your students to bring their cell phones? They know how to use those things. They can actually tape, record, take photos, take stills of what they see and identify those as hazards and share them, and perhaps make some decisions as to which ones need to be reported and dealt with immediately, which ones can be mitigated on the spot. Pick up the banana peel, put it in the garbage, but report it if that's the case, if that's required. It can be a bit of an eye-opener to walk around the building in which you're working and discover that there's a lot of things there that perhaps have been neglected for a very long time. So here's a hypothetical situation, which in Canada is probably not so hypothetical. What about ice? Not on the wings of airplanes, but right around the building in which you're actually doing the training. Is there any evidence of ice on steps? Any evidence of ice on walks? Well, has that ever been reported before? Maybe, maybe not. But if you report it, then in the SMS system, somebody's obliged to do something about it. There's other sources of videos, tapes, pictures, stills, whatever it is, and that's the internet. And something like YouTube often has remarkably interesting and startling examples of precisely the kind of hazardous situation that we need to report in aviation. There's also sources of images, Google Image, for example. Come back and share some of these things and ask one another, how would you classify this? Is this hazard, incident, or accident? And what could we do to mitigate right away? A number of companies have safety awards and other awards, and those safety awards, I think, can be a lot of fun and can get a lot of people involved, and let's face it, people respond to rewards. And if you have, say, 10, 20, however many hazards that are reported, or incidents that are reported, or accidents that are reported, if you draw names or have other criteria by which somebody is recognized for being involved in the safety management system, then that reinforces the process. People are going to be much more likely to get involved. A little bit of a reward there. Could be a cash prize. It could be theater tickets. It could be a company jacket. It could be a lot of things. And you could also vary the criteria from month to month. For example, perhaps somebody who, well, let's call it the Hidden Hazard Award, a monthly award. Somebody who identifies a hazard that's been there for a very long time, but because we've become so complacent and we just accept it, we never question it. And that's part of the cultural change. So if we can encourage people by getting them involved in something of a contest to identify hazards, maybe hazards that have been there forever, and you win a theater ticket or a weekend at a spa or airline tickets to a football game or whatever it is. But people respond to that kind of thing, and it's kind of fun.